Today I'm going to introduce everybody to my joke generator segment, and we're going to use it to build out 3 different kinds of hilarious coffee mugs. There are a few gotchas with AI. If you really think about it, of course, AI cannot parse humor. It really doesn't know what funny is. It's just kind of grabbing from a cloud of things that it associates with funny and trying to put them together. We can use that, though, in a Mad Libs kind of way. I guarantee you're going to have fun with this. There are a few rules to it, but if you learn to use your imagination and a little bit of creative prompting, you can get some pretty hilarious output for your print-on-demand mugs, shirts, whatever else you might want to create. If you are just now joining us, the software that I use for these workflows is Makr. You'll need to sign up for an account if you have not already and review the other videos possibly to bring you up to speed. Go ahead and sign into your Makr account when you've already got an account. Thank you for using my link in the description. Helps me keep making these videos. And what you'll want to do, if you've purchased my 101 print-on-demand automated generators, you'll want to create a new scenario, and then you will want to import the blueprint. The first blueprint that you will need to import is going to be in the POD segments folder. I have a segment, joke statement generator segment. If you have not purchased my blueprints, don't worry. You still should be able to follow along, and from all the info I'm showing you, be able to recreate what I'm doing. Open that, save, and save. And then what we're actually going to do, I am going to select all of these right now because I'm going to copy paste it into my coffee mug workflow. In Makr, when you want to select multiple modules, hold your Shift key and click and drag, select all modules, and then you right click, or on the Mac, control click, and copy modules. We now have those 3 modules in the clipboard, and we are going to import the coffee mug blueprint. So create a new scenario, import blueprint, choose file, and I'm going to import the Idiogram coffee mug generator. So scroll down to coffee mug, and there's 3 of them. We will import the others later, but for now I'm just going to import coffee mug generator. There we go. And now I'm going to do a paste. Your computer might ask you if it's okay. I'm going to allow it. Now we have all of these in here, and I'm going to go ahead and save. So this segment, the joke generator segment, I'm going to leave it disconnected for now. I'm going to first just craft a prompt using Idiogram by itself. We're going to create a funny concept for a coffee mug, and then after running this several times and seeing the output several times, I think you're going to understand why I came up with the joke generator segment. So let's drill into the prompt. The first and most basic way to get joke output is to ask your AI for a joke. So let's do that. I'm going to say, come up with a short, silly dad joke text graphic. Use a sans serif font and make it large and easy to read from a distance. Then space the letters far enough apart to be clear and distinct. All of these things kind of come from experience because it can bunch the text together, and those can be cool things, but I'm going to try to keep it to where it's nice and crisp and clear. So half of that's not even the joke. As you can see, that's just me prompting in ways that will get better output for what we're trying to do, especially on a coffee cup. And sometimes when you're doing a joke, it will give a pretty long setup and a long, some jokes are long. And if it puts that on a coffee cup, it's not necessarily going to work. It's going to be tiny and people are going to be like, what? And having to sit there and read the little paragraph. If you want to prevent that, and I'm going to try to prevent that on this coffee cup, I'm also going to make the joke short. Keep the joke short and sweet. No more than, let's say, 40 characters for the setup and the punchline. If we scroll through, I'm going to do V2 Turbo, resolution 1024 by 24, that's the square, 1024 by resolution, 1024 by 1024 square, best for most coffee mugs. I'm going to use design. I'm going to do auto, so we'll leave it on auto and see what happens, and save. And let's see what our output is on this coffee mug. Give it a whirl. Cool. Let's go over to Printify and see what our output is. Why did the Scarecrow win an award? Because he was outstanding in his field. I mean, that is pretty stark. I mean, that's not a bad coffee cup. Technically, it's just an interesting design. It's completely end-to-end, and it's kind of a lot to read. So, let's try something else, shall we? I'm going to modify the prompt slightly. So this time, let's try different. I'm going to say an ornate font. Space the letters far enough apart to be clear and distinct. I'll keep that. Keep it short and sweet. This time I'm going to reduce it so it looks like 40 characters. It shot a little above. I'm going to say try to keep to 26 characters. That's going to be a very short joke, guys, so I'll be curious what it comes up with. And then let's add a little graphic. So I'm going to say in the corner, include a 1950s comic style man with a big grin on his face. All right. Save, and let's run again and see what we get this time. All right, let's head on over to Printify, refresh, and see what we got. And look at this one. It's quite a bit more ornate. Definitely, why don't scientists trust atoms? Because they make up everything, and it's got a nice little graphic. So that one came out nice. I like that. To add the joke generator segment, you'll need to select these three modules up top. Hold Shift, click and drag if you're new to Make. And then we are going to move this to the front of the line, and I'm going to connect them. Boom. That automatically moves my scheduler to the front. Now let's take a peek at what's underneath the hood of the joke generator. I'm using ChatGPT, which happens to be quite a bit better, actually, at generating totally different jokes and statements. That's what the joke generator is. There's really no mystery. All it is using a text generator to come up with your jokes. And then, because I don't want each joke to basically just pass into the ether and then I have to copy paste, I have set up a situation where I have a verified delay. It takes about 30 seconds. This allows me to drill into the results, look at what the output is, and see if I like it. If I don't like it, then I don't commit it to my joke storage. I don't let it save, and I just stop the process and run it again. So let's take a look at the setup on this. The first one, you are going to set up your role as assistant, and you're going to say that you're basically going to establish its role as a joke writer. So if you're following along, you can just leave it as it is. Or if you're going to be creating this from scratch, you are a professional writer of clever innuendos, jokes, and risky puns. Scroll down. We have role, user, and this is where you're defining your input, the prompt. Come up with a creative and hilarious, dirty sexual innuendo joke with a double meaning. It needs to be passable for the office, yet still convey an edgy attitude and make the ladies at the office laugh. Do not use any punctuation marks, very short. One statement or joke, not multiple statements. Do not include quotation marks. You are not quoting anything. Do not use quotes anywhere. Then you're going to scroll down. We don't have any image input. Text response is always the format. Max completion tokens is set to 32. And temperature I have changed. Normally temperature is 1 because I'm wanting to get as close to what I'm prompting as possible. Giving it 0.1 gives it room to play around. And this is also adding what I call the Mad Lib factor. You are giving AI just a little bit of freedom to twist what you want into something unexpected, and that can create some very funny stuff. Scroll down, everything else is the same, top P1, number 1, everything else is left alone, and save. What we've set up so far only generates the joke. It doesn't generate any graphics. So that's where Idiogram comes in. We're going to modify the Idiogram prompt slightly so that it takes the output from the joke generator and makes a theme graphic for it. Open up your Idiogram module, and the prompt that I have right here, create a graphic of, and then I have mapped to the output of our joke generator. So you'd put your cursor down if you are going from scratch, and you'll need to drill down under choices, message, and click on content, and that's how I mapped. It says create a graphic of, insert joke, in the style of 1950s comics. Make the font large and easy to read from a distance. Space the letters far enough apart to be clear and distinct. In the corner, include 1950s comic style man in a smoking jacket with a big grin on his face. Now, this is just kind of like a template to work with, right? I went with this style for the first store that I launched. I just wanted those 1950 style joke graphics because I think they're cheeky and fun. But there really is no limit to what you can do with this. If you're a naturally funny person, I bet you've already got some ideas brewing. And if we scroll down, you'll see everything is set up the same. You'll want to choose design. That one is much better at coming up with graphics, although you could try photographic realism if you want to. And who knows what'll come out, but I always use design for these joke shirts and mugs and things like that. Magic prompt, I have turned off. It is off because I want it to follow my prompt as specifically as possible. If you turn it on, it's not quite like turning your temperature up. It can actually yield some undesirable, weird results. Feel free to try it if you want, but my recommendation for this particular process is to leave it off. And let's quickly review the rest of the blueprint. The next is an OpenAI chat completion module that generates the title. It uses the image generated by Idiogram to come up with a title. So down here we have image input type URL, and we have mapped to the output of Idiogram. And this is telling it to come up with a product title based on the following image. Come up with only one title, not multiple, and do not include any text but the title. Do not use quotes around the title, blah, blah, yada, yada. That's the title module. Then it takes the title, and we have the description module. The description comes up with a product description based on the title. If you wish to know more about these particular modules and why I've created them the way that I have, please review the second video in this series, The Anatomy of a Blueprint. I'm going to be covering a lot of different products in this series, and I'm not going to repeat the same information in every single video. So we have description, create a product description, and then I have mapped to the output of my title. Then we have the upload image, which takes the image that was generated by Idiogram, and it takes the title, and it applies it to the image. And then save, and then we have the create a product module. This is where your product is actually created and published to your store. We have title, right here we map to the title -mug, then we have description mapped, and then I've grabbed some of the specs from the Printify website. If you've bought my blueprints, all of the products come with this information pre-filled out so that it ends up as part of your product listings and gives your customers a lot more information about the products. Scroll down. For this particular coffee mug, I'm using two different variants. It comes in both 11 ounce and 15 ounce, and I've set my prices accordingly. No, this is not $1,900. Pricing in Printify is a little weird, and I've covered that before. This will be $19, and that will be $23. I've enabled both. You got to be careful. If you don't have your product enabled, then it will not pass that variant into the system. Scroll down. We only have one position ID, so this controls where the image is placed on the item that you're making, and in the case of coffee mugs, there is only a front. So position front, and then I've mapped to the image ID from our upload an image module. This takes the image from the Printify system, because that's where it needs to grab it, and then it places it. XY is always 0.5. 0.5 X and Y anytime you have one single placement like front and you want it to be direct in the center. And then we have scale. For coffee mugs, I'm using 0.40. This can change depending on what product you are creating. Angle needs to be 360. If this is blank, it will show up upside down, and if it's any other angle, you're going to have the image skewed out to that angle. Scroll down, the only tag that I've added is mugs, but if you want to add more, you can add a comma. Tags are typically used by your e-commerce system for sorting. So like if we were publishing to Shopify, you would be able to grab these tags and basically have your shop sort products, creating categories out of your tags. All right, let's run the joke generator and you'll see it in action. So it doesn't take it long to generate the joke. We now have the delay. I'm going to open it. I love a good hard meeting after hours. This one might be good. Let's see how the graphic comes out. I'm going to let that go ahead and pass. And come to think of it, I'm going to shorten my delay here in just a second because I've set it to 30 seconds, but that's because I used to have to drill down to see all my results. Now they include the result right at the top. Thank you very much, Makr. That is super convenient and saves me a lot of time. Passed it into storage. Now we're going to create the graphic, and then I'll allow it to create the product, but we are going to check out the result from Idiogram before we get there. Open up Idiogram, go under Output, copy paste the URL. I love a good hard meeting after hours. Hey, I like it, guys. Cheeky. Cheeky as hell. So let's see the final product in Printify. Dig it. So verify delay. Let me change that real quick. I'm going to back off to 10 seconds. That should be enough. Let's run this workflow a couple more times and see what the results are. All right, checking out another one. I love a good workout, especially in bed. That one's a little bit too direct. I don't want to save that because it's not quite the office joke, if that's what I'm trying to generate here. So I'm going to go ahead and stop my workflow before it saves it to my Google Sheet. I'm going to do a little bit of a time warp. Instead of making you sit through the process running, we're just going to cut straight to the results. Let's check it out. We've got multitasking together. What is that? I love it when we multitask together. Cute. I'll keep that one, and let's see what the other one is. Playful file storage. I can't wait to my file in your drawer. So it kind of messed up the graphic. I bet it said something else. Let's see what that last result was. I can't wait to put my file in your drawer. Okay.
Hope you have a big trunk, because I'm putting my bike in it.
Perfect teaching opportunity. So what I'm going to do right now, I want to reuse this joke, but if I run this blueprint again, it's going to generate a different joke. So now if I want to reuse a joke that I have already saved into my storage, I need to add a module, which is done by right-clicking on your screen, add module, and I'm going to add a Google Sheet. And then what we want to do is get a cell. So scroll down, select get a cell, and instead of connecting automatically, what I'm going to do, I'm going to unhook. So I'm going to click this little wrench right here, unlink, and then I'm going to link these two. And see this little clock? This little puppy right here determines where your actual starting point is. I'm going to change my starting point so that when I run the workflow here in just a few moments, it's going to start with this Google Sheet. So I want to select the Google Sheet that I was using. Down over here, we can see it's the Dad Jokes copy-paste spreadsheet. I'm going to go to my drive, select spreadsheet, and where is Dad Jokes? Oops, looks like I might be connected to the wrong account, so I'm going to select my other account. Sorry guys, got two Google accounts, and this is where my Dad Jokes is. Yeah, under automated income, Dad Jokes copy paste, and sheet name. I have generic sheet names, so sorry about that. You can name yours whatever you want. Now we need to determine what cell I'm going to use to call up the graphic. So I'm going to have to go to my Google Sheets account. Google Sheets. Sign in. There we go, right at the top. Dad Jokes copy paste, and I'm pretty sure it's down toward the bottom. I can't wait to put my file in your drawer. That is A63. So I'm going to go back to my workflow, and that is the cell that I want. A63. And I'm going to hit save. That is going to take this slogan, and when we run the process again, it's going to generate based on that. So I'm going to move my little joke generator away for a second. Sorry, little OCD guys. Now let's run it, and I'm going to try to get a perfect graphic. Idiogram isn't 100%, but it is a heck of a lot better than most other graphic generators when it comes to building out text in graphics. Let's give it a run. Oh, wait, I got to save that. It's telling me I haven't saved something. Oh, yeah, it's creating a graphic of, and what's happening, I almost forgot, guys, so this is the kind of stuff that happens. Before I run this, I'm going to have to remap to this cell. So I'm going to create a graphic of, and then we are going to map to the Google Sheets value and click Save. And that calls up the cell that we just defined. And now we're good to go. All right, running the blueprint again from the Google Sheet. And hopefully this time we get the text graphic in a complete form. All right, let's check out the results. There it is. That's a tiny little put, but the put is there. I can't wait to put my file in your drawer. Bing! Remember at the beginning of this video I said we were going to import 3 different style coffee mugs? Well, we're going to do that right now. Go ahead and save the blueprint we're working on and go ahead and back out of it. And if you are following along from scratch, don't worry. I'm going to show you what you need to know to get going. If you are working from my blueprints, go ahead and create a new scenario, and we are going to import the other 2 coffee mugs. Go to Import Blueprint, choose File, navigate to where you have unzipped your generators, and I'm going to scroll down again in the Idiogram folder, and this time I'm going to import the insulated mug, and then right after that we're going to import the metallic mug. Save the blueprint, and what we want to do, we want to go over to the last module, the create insulated mug, and we are going to copy that module and we're going to paste it down into the other workflow. All right, open up the original coffee mug and you're going to right click and paste, and this pastes the insulated mug down. Lather, rinse, repeat. You're going to want to do the same thing for the metallic coffee mug. And if you're following along and you do not have these to copy paste, you'll want to go to Add Module. You're going to add a printify module. You're going to go to Create a Product. And I'll show you here in just a second how to get that puppy connected and configured so that it will work for you. So first thing we need to do, we need to remap the insulated mug because it's still mapped to modules in the original workflow. Really easy to do. Under Title, we just go down to our title generating module. There we go, Title, Choice, drill down under Message and click on Content. Now we've mapped to the title. I'm going to erase this and we are going to map to the description. There's the description module. Choices, content, boom. Now we've remapped, and let's take a look at how the insulated coffee mug is set up. So if you're setting this up from scratch, you will need to look for the Blueprint ID insulated coffee mug and make carefully sure that your print provider ID is selected to district photo. Then I am doing only the 10 ounce variety. Let's see if there are any more. I think there might only be 10 ounce. Yeah. So this one only has one possible variant. You only need to select one variant, the 10 ounce. I've priced it at $29. And then for my print area, the same as before, we've only got the front. So the front position, all lowercase front. And then we need to remap to the image ID. So I'm going to go to the Upload an Image module, click down on ID, and now we're mapped. Everything else is pretty much the same. This one is a little bit bigger of a coffee mug, and so we scale to 0.60. Everything else is the same, and then under Tags, set up your tags and click Save. And for those following along from scratch without my blueprints, go ahead and grab that Printify Create a Product module we created earlier, bump it to the last one, and we are going to create the metallic mug manually, just for you guys, and click on your module. If you have not set up your shop ID, this is where you have to refer back to my first and second videos where I walk you through this process. You need to select the store that you've created in Printify that you want to publish to, and now we're going to map to the title. So put your cursor down where it says title and scroll down till you find the title generating module. Under Choices, message, content, there we go. And I usually do a dash, and in this case we're doing the metallic mug. And also be mindful, if you are publishing to an eBay store, you will likely need to remove this because eBay has a weird thing, can't go beyond 32 characters or something like that in the title. But I'm going to leave that like that. For description, we are going to map to the description. Choices, message, content. And then, if you want to add more to the description, I usually go to the printify listing and grab extra details so that I'm grabbing things, things like size, material, stuff like that might be important to customers in making their decisions. Then, for blueprint ID, this is the important part. We are going to search for the metallic mug. There we go. Just type in metallic, and you get the metallic mug, silver, gold. And for provider ID, we'll want to make sure to refresh this so that we're seeing the correct one. Comes from printed mint. Select that. And now we're going to set up our variants from scratch. All right, to add a variant from scratch, click on Add Item where it says Variant ID. It'll try to map. Toggle that, and you'll just want to click down, and we only have 2 options, which means there are only 2 variant options, both 11 ounce, gold or silver. So I'm going to set up the gold first. I don't know exactly what I want to price it, so I'm just going to give it a placeholder price. Let's go ahead and say $19. Enabled is yes, and because I see that I have 2 variants available and I want to add both, I'm going to add another item. Deselect the mapping, click the little drop down, and we're going to select silver. And I'm going to set it to $19. Is enabled equals yes. And last, we want to set up the position and image placement. As it's been with every other mug, there's only one position on this one, and it is the front. And we're going to add one image where it says ID. This is the one place where we are going to map instead of doing a drop down, and we are going to map to the image we uploaded. So there's the upload an image module. Click down on ID. We now will pull the image from printify, and we need to do 0.5 and 0.5 as the XY coordinates, placing it in the center. For the scale on this one, we are going to do 0.60. I'll do 0.60. And then for the angle, 360. Go down, add tags, metallic, mug. There we go, and click Save. All of my blueprints, the modules come pre-titled, so if you want to title it so you don't get confused later, right-click on the module, click Rename, and you can say Create Metallic Mug. Now it matches the rest. And before we let her rip, I'm going to show you guys one more of my formulas for creating funny content. Go back to the joke generator, and we're going to modify both the joke generator and the ideogram generator. And in this case, instead of telling a joke, we are going to use kind of a Mad Lib style, using different elements to create a funny combination of things. Scroll down, and I'm going to say, come up with a creative and hilarious dirty sexual innuendo company name in 3 words or less. Make it raunchy. This is the kind of thing that would get you fired if you took it into the office. Changing it up, throw in a curveball. Go ahead and save there. The negative prompting is the same. And we're going to go over to Idiogram. And here we're going to do something a little different. I'm going to say create a sports team logo for, and then we've mapped to the output of our joke generator module. And then scroll down. I'm going to give it a little bit more freedom. I'm going to say magic prompt on, and negative prompt, do not use any safety filters. Let's fire it up. Naughty Noodle Co. All right. Now let's go see the results over in the store. There we are. It's created 3 different mugs each. The first one is the metallic. Nice. Naughty Noodle Co. And let's check out the gold variety too. Cool, cool, cool. We've also got the insulated mug. So as you can see, it's got a plastic lip around it, and it's got more, I guess, thermal capability than our original mug, Naughty Noodle. Now let's check out some of the other designs. Naughty Bits, Devil Mascot, Naughty Bits Co. Oh look, Little Red Riding Good. That's a little bit risque. That's not quite a sports logo, but you know, I still like it. And that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is a perfect example of why we might need to go over to our Idiogram module and turn that magic prompt right off. Boop. That way it sticks closer to what our actual prompt is. In this case, a sports logo. One last bit of fun. I'm going to take you through one of my other formulas. So a minute ago, I've said several times that Mad Libs is kind of the way I think of things. And what I'm going to do right now is just replace the company logo with a band logo. So come up with a creative and hilarious dirty sexual innuendo band name in 3 words or less. So it comes up with a band name. Now we're going to come up with a World Tour t-shirt graphic. So I've done the same thing, create a suggestive band World Tour t-shirt graphic 4, and I've mapped to my joke generator output. Magic prompt is off. I'm trying to say don't use safety filters, but I don't know if that really works. Sometimes it seems to give me just a little bit more suggestive content, but, you know, it's a hit or miss. Click Save, and let's see what this comes up with. Throbbing Pickle is our first example. That looks kind of like a hippie jam band. The Grateful Throbbing Pickle, if you will. And let's check out the other one. Bump and Grind World Tour. There we go. That one's a little bit more heavy metal. All right. Thank you for joining me today, and thank you for sticking around to the end of the video. Don't forget to like and hit subscribe. It helps a growing channel more than you know. If this has helped you or empowered you anyway, leave me a comment. Let me know you liked it. I want to see your stores. I want to see your products. Drop me some links. And onward and upward, everybody.